What a great opportunity to have you. I think it's very nice to have you all here and have other people from outposted staff, and it's very important to ILRI that you are here. Is it? I mean, I asked that. I mean, so I think it's important, but do other people think it's important, and is that importance recognised to you? So that's going to be one of the big themes of how do you feel that you are loved and used and brought into the ILRI family. Lucy, you've been probably within the group longest. You were in the Philippines in the building of the Manila office. That has sort of declined, and now there's a new life coming up in Hanoi. What is it like to be? You've had a long history. What is it like to be an outposted ILRI person?
Well, correction, Brian. I'm not based in Manila. I'm based in Los Baños.
You were in Los Baños.
Yeah, in the ILRI.
Keep me on my toes.
Well, yeah, it's true that I've been the longest outposted staff, I think, in this group. It's been a struggle, actually, being away from headquarters.
Really?
Because, well, yeah, in some sense.
In which sense?
Because I think there are some advantages and disadvantages, I would say.
What are the advantages?
What
You're away from all the administration.
Yeah, that's
you don't get called to meetings every day.
The advantage is that in some ways you can have your quiet time, so to speak, focus on your work without getting distracted by the daily routine, so to speak, of being in headquarters.
But not too quiet.
Yeah, not too quiet, definitely. Being in ILRI itself is one whole different kind of organization. The disadvantage, I think, is sometimes being away, you don't really get a sense of what's going on within ILRI.
I think that's a critical point. What theme do you belong to?
Theme 3.
Do you feel really a part of theme 3?
Of course. I can say that theme 3, I think, is one theme that has made a lot of effort to include outposted staff and recognize the work that they do and make sure that they become integrated into the program of the team.
Great. That little check I gave you early on helped. Bonnie, you're the newest, if you like. So you don't really know yet what the advantages and disadvantages are. But you've been working for a long time in Zimbabwe, and now you're going to move to Mozambique. Do you speak Portuguese, by the way? Fala português? No.
No, I don't. But I'm going to do an intensive course for 5 weeks.
Good for you.
Full time, and I understand it does help. So I'm looking forward to that.
Now tell me, are you also going to do an intensive course on ILRI? Because that is rather important.
Brian, I've done that in the last 55 days.
Yes, okay.
I came to ILRI on 1st February, and I've been trying to understudy the 5 themes, the support systems, and I think it has worked.
One of there are 2 models, I guess, in terms of having outposted staff. One is to have a person who has been here at headquarters for some time, here on Addis, and then moves out, and that's the model of Bill Thorpe somewhere. And then there are the models of those coming from the region and starting off. Have you any pros and cons of those 2? What do you think is the best?
I wouldn't say
early to tell.
Yeah, I wouldn't say what is the best, but I think it's important to have a good understanding of what ILRI is about, because you are out there alone in most cases, and you really need to present or represent ILRI and be effective. So if you are not fully informed, you cannot carry out that job effectively.
Edwin, how do you feel? You've been with ILRI 2.5 years or so out there. Do you feel you know enough about ILRI to carry on your job there in Nicaragua?
I'm still learning about ILRI after 2.5 years. But we have had good communication with our supervisor and with Team 3.
Well, that money paid off with you as well. Okay, now Acho, you have sort of come in having been a consultant in Nigeria, and now you've taken on a huge leadership role in ILRI. What do you think about clearly you're coming from the region. Have you done the ILRI course?
No, not to a large extent. Maybe not as intensive as Bonnie's intensive course.
Do you feel you should?
Maybe I learn the ropes as I am out there, because there might not be any time to come over here, then there's nobody in the station.
Okay, you're a one-man band.
Yes, I am.
But you have ITA in Ibadan to support you, or not?
That makes you even more lonely if you are chicken-hearted, because it's a game of numbers. Sometimes when you are outposted and you represent an organization and you're working in a place where there are 1,500 staff, yeah, then it's a game of numbers.
And they're all working for another organization?
Oh yeah, this is the fact, yeah.
Okay, if I would go, you're now moving to Vietnam. Why Vietnam and why Hanoi? What is driving that?
Yeah, I think, well, I believe the rationale for that is because strategically Vietnam is within the GMS, the Greater Mekong Sub-region, and we feel that that is where most of ILRI's work would probably be needed at this time. When we were in the Philippines, in ILRI, I think we recognized that the Philippines NAR system is pretty much developed. But we believe that in the GMS, Greater Mekong Sub-region, we can do a lot more, because that is where many of the national systems are still demanding a lot of what we can offer.
Who will you be with? What sort of an office? Are you going to be in an ILRI office, or will you be in an office with another CG center, or an office with, or isn't that worked out yet?
Well, what we have discussed is that what we're doing right now is we have drafted an MOU which is being reviewed by the Ministry of Agriculture of Vietnam, and that is now in the process of being signed by the Vice Minister. And we are planning that within the ministry we will be sharing an office with IFPRI as an office within the ministry itself.
Okay, because there are again lots of advantages. Looking at India, where all the CG centres are in one building, in fact in one wing, and so they can all talk to each other, and that's great for the CG centres. But having them all doesn't give a wonderful impression of having them all in one spot. But I mean, Bonnie, you're going to go into Maputo with on your own, or with another CG centre?
That will be finalized shortly. But when Carlos Serra and I were down there 10 days ago, the Mozambican government showed us an office which is near the veterinary faculty and the INIV. And we looked at it. There were some problems with the communications, connectivity, and across the road 10 kilometers away from there are other city centers, again operating in a national institute. But I would really recommend that we move in with other city centers.
Okay, yeah, understandable. Now Edwin is down a very nice, well, it used to be a nice part of town in Managua. I understand it's turning into a little bit of a seedy part of town. Has nothing to do with your presence, of course. but you have a nice ILRI office. How does that affect your interaction with all your different partners? Do you think that that's a disadvantage?
No, I think that give us like a position there, and they visit us. They are still in contact with us, but now it's an ILRI office, not just an office within an official building of a local institution. Yeah. So
it gives you a real presence, doesn't it? I mean, and that is something that I really notice in Central America. And everyone knows, everyone talks about ILRI, even though if you translate ILRI into Spanish, it's something totally different, and nobody nearly knows what ILRI stands for. But still, the acronym ILRI flows off. So that's a positive thing. Your identity in ILRI's identity in Ibadan is there historically. Is it maintained? Do you feel that that is adequate for your interaction with the other partners that ILRI has in Nigeria and other parts of West Africa?
What do you mean by identity?
I mean that do you feel that you are adequately recognized for what you are? It puts you in a position where you can, on the one hand, have all the communications facilities, but on the other hand, be able to interact with your various partners?
I think yes. For whatever problems ILRI may have in terms of staffing or people who left or attempts to get more people on board, ILRI has done very well in West Africa in terms of pieces of research they have left behind, whether those relate to livestock or inter-institute collaboration like the ones that left the dual-purpose cowpea behind and things like that. So yes, ILRI is well respected and that identity still protects, and whoever is there actually still needs to maintain that level of collaboration with institutes working with ILRI.
Okay. Now, the last hard talk of the day that's going to come up is going to be with Brigitte, and she's produced this guidelines for field office outpost management. Now, I've got a little test on it coming up. Have you all read it? All read it?
Brown, yeah,
oh.
Electronic.
Good. Okay, well, I'm sure Brigitte will be sending the test out later on. Well, one of the other things that I think is important, do you feel, number one, possibly for Lucy, because having been around for a long time, do you feel that there's adequate, in all the things that ILRI puts out, is there adequate recognition of what the regional officers do? I mean, do you appear often enough and in a high enough profile of what the contributions to ILRI's programs are?
Well, I think the past 6-7 years we tried our best to get Southeast Asia activities become part of the mainstream ILRI, and we keep trying to do that. The decline in the number of staff there has contributed a lot to the ability to really keep up with the demands that ILRI may require in terms of the information that are needed and so on. But I think that it's a two-way process. Whatever gets into the ILRI mainstream is also a function of what we give. So we recognize that if there were deficiencies there, I mean, we could be part of the problem also.
One of the things we've spent the last few days, last Friday and Saturday, with the Central America team, Edwin, with your project, is really trying to make sure, one, ILRI is giving as much as it can to your project, not just not just me in the interaction, but the broader ILRI community. But number two is that there are international public goods, which we heard around earlier on when talking to John, coming out of the project that ILRI uses. Acho, your international public goods, what are they? We've just gone through that discussion with Edwin, so he's got all sorted out what his international public goods are. I was just using him as an example to introduce it. Yeah. Now, what are your international public goods?
Working in Ibadan, and in collaboration with Team 3, for example, we've worked on a similar CFC project, but on livestock, live cross-border trade on live animals.
Were you involved in that?
We are involved in that, and okay. we have produced 4 policy briefs in English and in French, and more than 6 countries actually were involved in that, and the ministerial meetings for that were to be held and to extend those kinds of lessons.
Okay, good answers. Are they? But is that a regional good or a truly international? What can you pick up from those regional countries and transfer elsewhere?
This is where relativity matters. I mean, if you look at the population of India and you produce a good that doesn't leave India, you might call it a national good, but it's affecting nearly billions of people, you know. But in West Africa, you travel from Nigeria to Mauritania and you have 250 million people. Yeah, in relative terms.
A fair answer, but
Isn't
a fair answer. One of the problems that one of the problems we're facing in, and maybe I should go to Bonnie, facing in the Central America project, not a problem but a challenge, is that in order to really respond to the demands of our donor and of the region, we tend to get into a lot of development issues and a lot of issues that really we struggle to find our international public goods. Bonnie, you were fielding at lunchtime today a whole range of different projects. Are you happy that they're all going to fit both partners? They're going to be providing impact in the Southern African region and also going to provide us with our international public goods? I know I'm pushing it with your how many days? 56 days. 56 days, okay. But but it's not going to stop me. Carry on.
I think it's a valid comment, and it is important to be alert to that, so that in fielding possible entry points, one also thinks of these issues. How are we going to respond to the donors, to our other partners, the development and the research issues? So it's something that we'll continue to grasp as we move on.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there. That's very kind of you all to be here and to talk to me, and I think we've got a much nicer picture of how you fit in. And thank you all very much indeed. Thank you very much.